a man who was apparently asleep at a drive-thru at a Wendy's because he was drunk behind the wheel. The police show up and they start questioning him. The questioning goes for 25 minutes. They're very polite. He's fairly polite to them. Then when they go to arrest him, he starts to resist arrest. Not only does he resist arrest, he knocks down 2 of the police officers. He grabs one of their tasers. And then as he's running away from the officers, he turns around and points the officer's taser at the officer and attempts to fire it at the officer, at which point the officer shoots him dead. So we have the actual footage of this. It is disturbing. So if you're disturbed by this sort of footage, then you should probably skip the next minute and a half or so. Here is what the actual situation was, because this is being used as yet another case in point of evil, brutal white police taking down an innocent black man. And that is not what this case is. Not all cases are created equivalent. This is not like the case of George Floyd. It is not. This is not like the case of Ahmaud Arbery. Okay, this is a case in which a person stole a weapon off a cop and pointed the weapon at the cop, and then he was shot dead. So here is what this resulted, by the way, in the burning down of the Wendy's, which makes no sense. It's not the Wendy's fault. By the way, it was a white chick, apparently, who burned down the Wendy's. We'll get to that in a second. But here was the actual footage. And it's important to analyze these situations because the headlines that came from the media were just a lie, like an overt lie. There were headlines from the media that said things like, unarmed black man shot by police. He was not unarmed. He was literally holding the taser and pointing it at the officer at the time. Okay, here is what the footage looked like, and I'll narrate it for people who can't actually see it.
Tell me, I wasn't here, so can you tell me what happened before we got here?
Okay, so they're giving him the walking test. He obviously can't walk in a straight line. He's having trouble. This guy's really very drunk.
Home. I have my daughters there right now. My daughter's birthday was yesterday.
All right. Hold on, Mr. Brooks. Will you take a preliminary breath test for me? It's yes or no.
I don't want to refuse anything.
It's yes or no. It's completely up to you.
Yes, I will.
Okay, just wait here while I grab. What kind of drinks did you have?
I'm not sure. It's something she ordered. She said top shelf or whatever.
Top shelf what?
I'm not sure. It was, like I said,
so they're talking obviously about the kind of drinks that he's had. This is all very polite, right? I mean, if the police officers are out to kill the guy, this is not how that encounter starts, typically. If it's white racist police officers looking to kill black men, you usually don't have 25. Okay, now here's where it gets ugly. So they go to handcuff the guy. Right, the body cam footage is here. And then next you cut to footage from somebody else. Now the guy's resisting arrest. He takes these guys, the police officers, to ground. He reaches out. He steals the taser from one of the police officers. And they're shouting, he's got my taser. He's got my taser, right? One of the officers draws his taser to try and tase him. It apparently fails. The guy grabs the taser from him, escapes the police officers, and takes off down the street. Now, you'll see him throw the police officer in 1 second and finally kind of bust free of them and run. Okay, he tries to tase him there, right? He points it at the officer there. Then he's running away. He turns around and he fires the taser at the police officer, at which point the police officers shoot him. Okay, so I asked several police officers last night because I want to make sure that I was getting this right? Because I don't know police procedure. I read the law in the city of Atlanta on use of deadly force, and this falls squarely within the law on the use of deadly force. If someone removes a weapon from a police officer and fires it at the police officer, if it is a taser, so people were saying idiotic things. They were suggesting that, well, a taser isn't a deadly weapon, so you can't shoot the guy for using it. Well, no, the idea is that he's already demonstrated his willingness to take a weapon off an officer. If he fires the taser at the officer and takes the officer down, what is to prevent him from then going over to the officer, withdrawing the officer's gun, and shooting him? The officer does not have to wait around to be killed. That is not the way this works. The officer does not have to wait around to be seriously injured by a suspect who is resisting arrest. So the Atlanta mayor immediately fired this officer, immediately. Okay, and said that while just because this was justified by law doesn't mean it was justified in action. Okay, in other words, yes, the law covers this sort of activity by police officers because, again, I talked to multiple police officers. Not a single one of these police officers thought this was a bad shoot because it isn't a bad shoot. If you knock down police officers and you steal a weapon off a police officer and then you fire a weapon at a police officer, even if it is a taser, they are not obligated to shoot to wound because that's not a thing. They have to stop you. You're running away with a police officer's taser right now. And he, again, by the way, they don't shoot him before he turns around and attempts to shoot them with the taser. And he turns around, he fires the taser. You can see the taser light up as he attempts to fire it at them.